The night was heavy with silence. The people of Israel stood at the edge of the impossible, the Red Sea before them and Pharaoh's army behind. Fear whispered louder than faith. Some cried, "Moses, why did you bring us here?" Moses looked at the sea, then at the sky. And for a moment, even he wondered if he had misunderstood the call. But faith isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward in spite of it. Then the Lord spoke, not in thunder this time, but in quiet certainty. "Lift your staff, stretch out your hand over the sea." He obeyed, and the wind began to rise. The sea trembled, split in two. Walls of water stood on either side, and the dry ground appeared where there had only been depth and darkness. The people moved, hesitant at first, then running. Children laughing, mothers weeping, old men touching the ground that should have drowned them. Behind them, Pharaoh's chariots roared into the same path. The sound of wheels and hooves echoed between the walls of water. But when the last Israelite stepped onto the far shore, Moses turned once more and stretched out his hand. The sea returned. The roar was deafening, not of victory, but of release. For the first time in 400 years, Israel was free. Some victories don't happen in silence. They happen in surrender. When you stand between the sea and your past, remember this: the same God who opened the way will close what once chased you. The Red Sea was behind them, but the desert was ahead. Freedom had begun, but faith had just started its training. The wilderness doesn't kill dreams, it tests them. For 40 years, the Israelites walked under the same sun that once rose over Egypt. But now, there were no walls, no chains, only endless sand and sky. They complained, they doubted, and Moses, the man who had seen fire and water obey, now faced the greatest battle of all, leading hearts that did not believe. Sometimes miracles are easier to create than people are to change. When they were thirsty, God made water flow from a rock. When they were hungry, bread fell from heaven, manna, white as dew, sweet as mercy. Each morning it appeared new, reminding them that God's provision comes one day at a time. But the people wanted more. Freedom felt too slow. And Moses cried out, "Lord, why have you chosen me to carry this burden?" The answer came in silence. The kind of silence that teaches patience. Every leader, every believer must walk through a wilderness. It's the place where dependence is learned, where faith grows roots deeper than fear. At Sinai's base, clouds gathered. Thunder rolled across the mountain as if the heavens themselves were breathing. God was about to speak again, not through fire this time, but through His word. The wilderness had prepared them for this moment. The mountain waited, and the voice that once spoke from the bush was about to speak from the heavens. The mountain stood still, cloaked in cloud and fire. The people trembled below, but Moses climbed. He had seen God in a bush once. He had seen Him split the sea. But this was different. This was not about deliverance. It was about relationship. As Moses ascended, lightning cut the sky like the handwriting of heaven. Every step was a reminder that holiness isn't found in comfort, it's found in closeness. At the summit, the presence of God surrounded him. Time stopped. The air itself seemed to breathe. And then came the voice. Not thunder, not terror. A voice that carried authority wrapped in love. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And upon the stone he wrote words that would shape generations, laws that were not chains, but compass, truth that would teach mankind how to love God and love one another. 10 words from eternity. 10 reminders that freedom without guidance is only another form of bondage. When Moses descended, his face shone with light, a reflection of the one he had been near. The people couldn't even look at him. He covered his face not out of shame, but out of reverence for the glory that rested upon him. God's presence changes everything it touches. And if you've ever been in his presence long enough, you know you don't walk away the same. But the journey was not over. The promised land still waited beyond the horizon. Moses had led them out, but could he lead them in? Years passed like grains of sand in the wilderness. The generation that left Egypt began to fade, and a new one rose in its place. Children born free, yet still learning what freedom meant. Moses stood on Mount Nebo, the mountain of endings and beginnings. He looked across the Jordan River, and there it was, the land of promise. He saw it all, though his feet would never touch it. And yet he smiled, because sometimes your purpose is not to arrive, but to lead others there. He spoke to the people one last time. Be strong and courageous. The Lord himself goes before you. Then he turned toward the horizon, and God took him home. The story of Moses doesn't end in sorrow, it ends in fulfillment. Because legacy isn't about how long you live, it's about how deeply you obey. He began as a man who ran from Egypt, and ended as the man who led a nation out of it. He started with a stutter and finished with a story that still speaks through centuries. Every burning bush, every desert, every Red Sea was never meant to break him, but to build him. And maybe that's what God is doing with you too. You may not see the promise yet, but if you keep walking, keep trusting, you'll find that the same God who called you from the fire is waiting for you at the promise. If you've ever felt like you've been wandering, remember this: God doesn't waste wilderness seasons. He uses them to teach, to shape, to prepare. So when the time comes and the promise appears on the horizon, you'll know you were never walking alone. Type "I'm still walking with God" in the comments if you know this story spoke to you. Save this video to remind yourself. Your promise may take time, but it's already written.